Welcome to Barca News. It is June 18, 2026, and I'm going to tell you how Atletico Madrid reached an agreement with Arsenal over the transfer of Julian Alvarez. Also, Barcelona are set to sign Jan Virgili, and finally, Deco met with the agent of Javi Guerra. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, Hello, everyone. I got stuck over here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Bo, and today we had another crazy 2026 World Cup day. Canada absolutely demolishing Qatar 6-0. Qatar ending up with two red cards, down to 9 men in the second half. And then Kone's broken leg. Did you guys see that? That was pretty gruesome. Kone fractured both bones, which means not only is his World Cup over, most likely that entire 2026-2027 season is over for him. And the crazy thing is, if you watch the replay, it didn't even look like that bad of a foul. It looked like your average foul, someone goes for the ball, ends up kicking the leg of someone else. But man, nasty, nasty, gruesome scenes in the Canada versus Qatar match. I wish Kone a fast and speedy recovery, and I hope that he recovers from this injury better and stronger than ever. Now, the match that I was really looking forward today was, of course, Mexico versus South Korea. I expected an open match with lots of back and forth, with lots of goals. And at the end of the night, it ended up being very disappointing with both teams playing very conservative football. I think both teams were very scared of leaving space in the back and getting scored on. So as a result, instead of seeing an open match with lots of back and forth, with lots of goals, we ended up seeing a snooze fest with one goal that was a pretty silly goal, a mistake by the Korean goalkeeper that gave Mexico the victory. And of course, Mexico are now, I think they're officially through, if I'm not mistaken, through the knockout stages. So that's the World Cup for me. What was today for you? Did you like the matches? Did you see? Did you hate them? What do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. Tomorrow we have some exciting teams playing. We have Brazil playing again. Hopefully they can save face after their disappointing opener. And then, of course, the U.S. men's national team playing tomorrow. I think right now the U.S. is one of the best attacking football I've seen, or most surprising, I should say, because, we all expect France to do great. We all expected Argentina to do well in their opening match. We thought Spain and Brazil would do the same, but they didn't. But, nobody was really expecting that the U.S. would come in with such amazing football, with such great attacking football, scoring 4 against Paraguay tomorrow, playing against Australia. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the U.S. men's national team. But anyways, enough about the World Cup. Let's talk about Barcelona, because, ladies and gentlemen, we have more details about Barcelona's preseason. And, well, now some of these details are becoming official, actually being announced by the club. Now, as I told you before, the preseason will officially kick off on July 13th. That's when the players will report to the Ciutat Esportiva to undergo medical exams to make sure they are healthy and good to go. Of course, many of the first team players will not report on this day because they either will be still playing the World Cup or they will be on vacation. The first team players who didn't get called up by their national squads will show up to the Ciudad Esportiva. And of course, many young players who've been called up to the preseason will show up as well. So very, very exciting. We're going to get to see, the likes of Ibrahim Diarra, of Ebrima Tunkara, Oscar Gistao. I mean, you name it. We're going to see a lot of young, promising names in the preseason. So July 13th, officially the first day of the preseason. 2 weeks later, or not really 2 weeks later. Yeah, 2 weeks later, on July 27th, the team will fly to England, where they will do a preseason training at the St. George's Park. That's where the English national team trains. Barcelona will be at St. George's Park from July 27th until August 3rd. So approximately a week, during which Barcelona have officially announced that they will play a friendly match against Birmingham on July 31st at St. Andrews. So that's official now. It's confirmed. Barcelona will play a friendly match against Birmingham on July 31st. Now, Barcelona currently working on a second friendly in England. It's either going to be against Stoke City or Watford, but that one will be behind closed doors. So, July 13th, preseason begins. July 27th, Barcelona fly to England. July 31st, confirmed friendly match against Birmingham. And then we'll see when Barcelona will play either against Watford or Stoke City behind closed doors. And then, of course, Barcelona will return to, well, Barcelona, to the city of Barcelona. Now, we did, of course, hear that news about River Plate inviting Barcelona to play a friendly match in Argentina. That has been scrapped. Barcelona will not be going to or coming to Argentina because I'm currently in Argentina. They're not going to be coming to Argentina to play against River Plate, which is a shame, but it makes sense, right? The whole point of Barcelona going to England is that Hansi Flick did not want a preseason tour because there's a World Cup, right? He didn't want his players traveling halfway across the world, with all the long travel in the plane, time difference, et cetera, et cetera. And, to go all the way to Argentina or come all the way to Argentina to play a friendly against River Plate, I mean, that would kind of nullify the whole purpose of not having a preseason tour. Now, we had originally talked about how Barcelona were considering playing a friendly match against Liverpool in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. Those plans were scrapped because there was an outbreak of Ebola, but now it seems like that outbreak is being brought under control. So Barcelona are now considering once again putting that back on the map, on the table, which is playing a friendly match against Liverpool. It's not finalized. We'll see what happens. I think it would be cool to play a friendly match against Liverpool. I still think it's a little bit of a far trip to go all the way Kenya. It's obviously not as far as going to Argentina or the US or Korea or Japan, but I mean, the whole point of going to England is not having to travel that far, right? So, anyways, we'll see what happens. But of course, Barcelona need to make money, so this is why they're talking about this friendly match against Liverpool. Now, on to the big bombshell news today because El Chiringuito, Jota Jordi, if I'm not mistaken, dropped a huge bombshell. If you don't know who Jota Jordi is, he's a reporter very well informed about Barcelona news, and he dropped a bombshell unveiling that Atletico de Madrid had reached an agreement with PSG for the transfer of Julian Alvarez. Now, we talked about how PSG and Arsenal were both interested in Julian Alvarez. Looks like Atletico Madrid had been in talks with PSG for quite some time to have Julian go to Paris, play under the orders of Luis Enrique. Atletico Madrid reached an agreement with PSG, and then when they informed Julian, he looked at them and he's like, I don't care, bro. I don't want to go to PSG. I want to go to Barcelona. So, ladies and gentlemen, Julian Alvarez completely rejecting that move, and that whole agreement reached between both clubs completely fell apart. But it didn't stop there because Jota Jordi has revealed that then Atletico Madrid reached an agreement with Arsenal for the transfer of Julian Alvarez. There's even talks about an exchange of Gyökeres for Julian plus some cash. We know Gyökeres hasn't really impressed at Arsenal. I called it last summer. Everybody was like, Gyökeres. Barca should sign Gyökeres. And I was like, I feel like that guy is overhyped. But anyways, don't say I didn't warn you. But yeah, Atletico Madrid reached an agreement with Arsenal for the transfer of Julian. When they informed him, guess what he said? Same thing, ladies and gentlemen. Julian also told Atletico Madrid, sorry, bros, I don't want to go to Arsenal either. I want to go to Barcelona and Barcelona only. So Julian Alvarez completely destroying two agreements that Atletico had reached with both PSG and Arsenal because he's making it very clear he wants Barca and Barcelona only. And this, of course, is good news because it gives Barcelona some leverage in the negotiations because, of course, Julian has told Atletico he doesn't want to stay there. He doesn't believe in their project. Why would he? Their project is an absolute garbage can set on fire. But the only clubs interested in him are PSG, Arsenal, and Barcelona. He doesn't want to go to PSG or Arsenal. So that only leaves Barcelona. So Atletico Madrid have two options. A, keep a player that they do not a player that doesn't want to be there, or B, sell him to Barcelona, a club that wants him and a club that the player wants to go to. No other options on the table. And this is why yesterday I said I think Barcelona are making a mistake preparing a 135 million euro offer fixed plus 15 million euro in variable because there's no need, ladies and gentlemen. Barcelona made a 90 plus 10 offer. I think we should stick with that. Maybe up it a little bit, but not all the way to 150. There's no need. Atletico Madrid are gonna have to sell Julian. Julian has told them, I don't want to be here. I don't believe in your project. There's a lot of problems between him and Simeone. Atletico need to get rid of him. They have a problem on their hand. They have a player who doesn't want to be there, who has a problem with their coach, and the coach has a problem with him. The problem is theirs, not ours. We're doing Atletico a favor by taking the problem off their hands and in exchange giving them a lot of money. Why are we trying to give them even more money? Doesn't make any sense. But anyways, that's the news. Julian Alvarez breaking the agreement that Atletico reached with first PSG, then Arsenal, because he only wants Barcelona. Does this mean that this deal is done and Barcelona will sign Julian? No, but I do think that it makes things a little bit easier for Barcelona. Now, of course, easier is not easy. Whenever I say words like that, people are like, oh, Bo said it's easy. No, easier is not the same as easy. It's still going to be very difficult. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are set to sign Jan Virgili. Now, we talked about this a little bit a couple of days ago. Of course, Jan Virgili came up through the Barcelona Academy, decided to leave last summer in search for more minutes. Barcelona transferred him to Mallorca for 3.5 million euros, while Barcelona retained a buyback clause and also a 40% of his rights. As we know, Mallorca has been relegated. Jan Virgili has a 30 million or had a 30 million euro release clause in his contract. Because Mallorca got relegated, that release clause dropped from 30 million all the way to 12 million euros. But of course, Barcelona owned 40% of the rights of the player. So that 12 million euro release clause, Barcelona would only have to pay 7.2 million euros. Now, we talked about how Deco met with Jan Virgili's agent at the Ciudad Esportiva a few days ago because Barcelona were considering signing Jan Virgili back in order to, maybe sell him and make some money. And well, it seems that Barcelona will be moving forward with this signing. Barcelona will pay 7.2 million euros to Mallorca. They will sign Jan Virgili back. And of course, you might be wondering, Mo, why do we need Jan Virgili? We have Rafinha. We just signed Anthony Gordon. Well, the idea is that Barcelona are going to sign Jan Virgili and right away send him out on loan, most likely to Real Betis, so he can continue growing and developing. Because at this point, Hansi Flick considers that Jan Virgili is not yet ready to play at Barcelona. And of course, even if he was, there's no space for him. We have Rafinha, we have Gordon. So Barcelona set to sign Jan Virgili and then loan him out to Real Betis. And who knows, maybe he does eventually end up exploding and he can come back to Barcelona, or he ends up exploding, his value skyrockets, and then we can sell him for a huge profit, right? Either way, it's a win-win for Barcelona. So I'm glad Barcelona will be moving forward with this move. Now, speaking of Deco, we do have to talk about another news because 2 days ago, Deco met with the agent of Javi Guerra, whose name is Javi Garrido. I know they both have the same name. Kabi Gerra is represented by Javi Garrido. He's also the agent of Kang In Lee, who plays for PSG. But that wasn't a topic of conversation. Topic of conversation was Kabi Gerra, who, if you don't know who he is, he's 23 years old, midfielder, currently plays at Valencia. An incredible midfielder. I always enjoy watching him play. Of course, he was linked previously to Barcelona. Barcelona considered signing him in the past, but he did have a 100 million euro release clause. That release clause has been reduced because Javi Guerra negotiated a contract agreement with a new contract extension, with Valencia, and in those negotiations, the release clause was brought down to 40 million, which is what currently sits at, but on August 1st, it will go up to 60 million euros. But anyways, Deco met with Javi Guerra's agent. It was kind of more of an informative meeting. Hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? They discussed Javi Guerra, not because Barcelona are planning to sign him this summer transfer market, but more because they want to, they could consider him in the future. Barcelona, big fans of Javi Guerra. So this is kind of like to keep an eye, like, hey, what's going on with Javi Guerra? By the way, we're interested. If he ever decides to leave Valencia, let us know. We could end up signing him. So this is more like a future thing, down the road thing, rather than right now. But just know that Deco did meet with the agent of Kabi Gerra. Now, let's end today's video with the news that, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Rashford continues to prioritize a move to Barcelona. However, he is, of course, now exploring other options. Now, as you know, Rashford came to Barcelona on a one-season loan with an option to buy worth 30 million euros. Barcelona tried to sign Rashford. They wanted less than 30 million euro to pay less than 30 million euros. Manchester United said absolutely not. Also, Barcelona asked Rashford to reduce his salary. He agreed, but not as much as Barcelona wanted him to do so. So Barcelona decided not to move forward. They weren't willing to pay 30 million for Rashford. They weren't willing to pay the salary that Rashford was demanding, especially because, we all know if he does come to Barcelona, he will end up being a sub. So as such, Barcelona informed Man U and informed Rashford that they will not be moving forward with activating the option to buy. However, they didn't fully close the door. Barcelona were kind of like, he's still an option, but first we want to focus on signing Julian Alvarez. We want to sign Cancelo. And then if we still think there's space for Rashford, then maybe we can consider signing him. So in other words, a very, very slim chance. So of course, Rashford is now considering other options, even though he still prioritizes coming to Barcelona. Now, Rashford has told his agent to start looking for other teams to figure out his next move. He is banking on doing a good job in a World Cup, and that way increase, interest of other clubs in him. Again, if Barcelona calls him, he would come running. But of course, he cannot wait for Barcelona forever. So he's now considering other options. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all the news. Let me know what you guys thought about everything that I share with you. I see some people already, by the way, on social media crucifying Anthony Gordon because Rashford scored a goal and Anthony Gordon didn't. Absolutely crazy. The guy hasn't even played a single second for Barca, and people are already crucifying him. But anyways, that's Barcelona fans for you. If you don't sign, why aren't we signing? If we sign someone, they fucking suck and they haven't even played, can't keep people happy. Anyways, that is all. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, now and forever, these guys.